NBA preseason offers fans and teams the ability to see what the individual players have been working on in the offseason and look ahead to potentially what they can provide the team in the regular season. And with so many people vying for roster positions and rotation spots, there is great competition at hand. But in this video, I'm going to be giving you the 3 key players that you need to be looking out for on the Raptors in their preseason. We want to win 50 plus games this season. Can any of these players help us do it? Let's get into it. What's going on, NBA and Raptors fans? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. On this channel, I bring you the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. So if that's of interest to you, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and you can help us on the road to 12,000 subscribers. We're getting so close to that milestone. I hope you can help me get there. Also, be sure to check out our watch parties for all of the Raptors preseason games and regular season games on this channel. We go live 30 minutes before the opening tip. Hope to see you there tomorrow as we take on the Boston Celtics. But our video today, sorry it's been a little bit of a break from me on this channel, was away in Cincinnati and just been really busy with work. But here we are today. I want to give you guys the 3 key players to watch out for the Raptors in their preseason duties this season, because preseason, like I was saying, I really want to see with preseason what players have been working on in the offseason. I want to see signs of development, and if those signs of development can correlate and also show themselves in the NBA regular season as well. And, you know, for the guys in the starting lineup, I have a lot of faith that they are going to continue to improve. And sure, you know, I really want to focus on them and what they're doing, but also the guys on the bench fighting for maybe roster spots as well as rotation spots this season, they have the most to work on because they don't have the job security that, you know, a Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes can have. Like, these guys are obviously need to improve as well, especially Scotty Barnes. They need to have worked on things in the offseason, but there's a lot of polarizing sort of thoughts going on to players who are maybe on the fringe of getting cut from the roster, on the fringe of getting into the rotation. So I really want to look at these guys to see as well what they are working on. And preseason isn't everything, and I know that 100% completely. Just as Raptors fans who watched Simi Hyluk in the preseason last year, we thought we had a stud on our team. Now he is no longer on the roster because we waived that $1.8 million guaranteed on his contract. But in this video, I have 3 really different types of players that I want to discuss. One that I think is on the cusp of getting cut, one that I think is on the cusp of the rotation, and one that I think is on the cusp of absolute greatness. So let's start with the player that I believe could be on the cusp of getting cut. And that player, maybe to your surprise watching this video, is Juancho Hernangomez. Now, the thing about Juancho Hernangomez, I think this is the most polarizing player on our roster, because when he was initially signed, I thought it was a player that would struggle to actually make the Toronto Raptors final roster. But there was fans who were telling me in the YouTube comments, and even just sort of conversations I saw on Twitter, people were treating it like it was going to be a lock to make the final roster, and people were considering him as a lock to be in the standard top 9 rotation for a team going into the season. Now, I thought those things were a little bit crazy at first, but then I saw the Raptors gave this guy $2.3 million in guaranteed money, and that really showcased to me that they have a lot of belief in the guy. And the way people were speaking about him at Media Day, and even him actually being on the podium at Media Day, really alluded to me that the Raptors believe in this guy and that he's pretty much a lock to make this roster, though I would suggest maybe that's not going to happen, especially if guys like Josh Jackson play like they did in that first preseason game, much to my surprise. But for Juancho Hernangomez, he is a key player to watch out for the Raptors in preseason, because we just really want to see what he does. We have had 1 preseason game so far, and as for Juancho Hernangomez, offensively, really, there's not much that he did other than shoot threes. He took 3 3-pointers. He did make one of them, good for 33% in an extremely small sample size. But I was a little bit more impressed what he could do defensively, because the Raptors, we have guys who can play defense, and we are really a defense-first sort of team. And Juancho Hernangomez is known to be a guy who can shoot. Can he also defend? And he looked, honestly, I get it was just a Utah Jazz bench, but he looked fundamentally sound defensively. He was making smart plays, had his hands up, was contesting shots, and was kind of operating as the anchor for the Raptors in the paint, because, I mean, he was pretty much playing as a big. We like to have all these switchable forwards. We can kind of consider Juancho Hernangomez, also known as Bo Cruz from Adam Sandler's movie Hustle. We can consider him maybe a little bit of a switchable forward, and we want to see those signs from the player going into the season, because he's not showing signs of defensive switchability, then Nick Nurse might just throw it all away. But defensively, he looked fine, and honestly shocked me how fine he looked. I thought he'd be more of a liability, but he looked pretty good. That is something to look out for and continue to watch if he is comfortable with the switching and if he is continuously comfortable contesting those shots. Offensively, had the ball in his hands periodically, but mostly you kind of want him to be the spot-up guy who can shoot threes, and to be honest, he was doing that to a certain degree. Now, as far as getting into the rotation for the next steps, well, I believe it's difficult for him to do that. I really have a lot of faith in Boucher off the bench, Achua off the bench, Otto Porter Jr., as well as Thaddeus Young off the bench. That's 4 guys in similar sort of roles to Juancho Hernangomez. He has to take over one of those spots to get into a consistent rotation. 10th man could be more of a point guard, but hey, if Juancho Hernangomez is hitting threes and playing solid defense, we could really use that extra floor spacing off the bench. What he is going to have to do for the rest of preseason to showcase that he can be in the main rotation is shoot threes at a very good clip and play solid defense. Last year, we were lacking the shooting, and if you couldn't make shots, as Yuta Watanabe and Simi Halek both found out, you're not going to be in the rotation. Juancho Hernangomez, that is what he's going to have to do. I have the belief that he can do it. My prediction is he will not be in the main rotation. Let's see if he proves me wrong. Second player that I want to talk about, and this is a player who I've always felt comfortable as a lock to actually make the roster, and he was very impressive in that first game for the Raptors against the Jazz, and that player is Dalano Banton. Now, what is very important here for Dalano Banton, and it's kind of going back to what I mentioned in the Juancho segment about our depth. I really like Boucher, Otto, Precious, and Thad. Well, those 4 guys, awesome coming off the bench. I really like the bench and the depth that we have there, but there's no point guard there. And Fred VanVleet last season played the most minutes per game in the NBA. And I think playing all those minutes really had a correlation with the injury troubles he had late in the season that also plagued him in the playoffs, prevented him from playing in some games. And in the games they did play, it prevented him from being at his best. And there were a lot of situations where the speed of Tyrese Maxey gave him a lot of problems, and that is me putting it nicely. So we want to decrease Fred VanVleet's minutes. The problem was that last season, when Fred was off the floor, the team went to absolute shambles. I'm not going to use the word that I wanted to use there, but the team didn't look very good, and we had no choice but to put Fred back on the floor. This season, if we want to shrink his minutes, it would be really nice to actually have a point guard that we can rely on to a certain degree coming off the bench. Now, Malachi Flynn is coming off of an excellent offseason where he was shown out at all these Pro-Am events, and he's a little bit more assured of his role with the Raptors because maybe he makes less mistakes and there's a lesser degree of variance associated with Malachi Flynn. He's not going to be spectacular, but he's not going to be too bad. Dalano Banton offers a wide array of variance. He can be great, but he can also be really, really bad. What we saw from Dalano in the first game was an improvement from last season on his decision-making, which is the biggest thing for me. A lot of times when he kind of gets in the paint and tries to get to the rim, he can find himself stuck with one decision, and it's easily found out by NBA defenses. In the G League, he's just way better than everybody, so he puts his head down, grabs the ball, he can fight his way to the rim. At the NBA, not so much. He needs to have some bailouts, some kickouts. He needs to have the ability to switch where he's going to the rim, switch his handle, switch his hands. These are things that look to have made a bit of a step forward, as I saw in the game against the Utah Jazz. That is going to have to continue. Defensively, he's going to have to stay with his check a bit better. Offensively, he's going to have to turn over the ball a little bit less. But Dalano Banton, that backup point guard spot is for the taking. Malachi Flynn is not exactly locking it up. Dalano Banton, if he shows out in preseason, can take steps to be the backup point guard on a night-to-night basis. It'll be interesting to see in these next 4 games if he can continue this good play. And if he does, he might just find himself in the rotation because there just really is nobody grasping onto that backup spot. It is there for the taking. It is there for the Canadian Dalano Banton to get. Now, the third player, I told you we had a fringe player. We had a player who I thought was on the fringe of the rotation. And now we are going into a player who needs to take a bigger jump. Now, I was speaking in the intro to this video about how I was really interested to see the bench players, if they can get themselves a spot in the rotation, but a polarizing player as well that we need to discuss, maybe the most popular name on the Raptors, that is Scottie Barnes. Now, Scottie Barnes is going to be maybe the most important factor for what's going to happen this season. We know to a degree what we have in Siakam, VanVleet, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby. With Scottie Barnes, we just simply don't know. I'm not saying the other 4 guys can't take a step forward or a step back, but there's not going to be a huge leap from any of them. At least looking at them right now, I can't really see that happening. Scottie Barnes, I absolutely can see a huge leap come for the player. We've seen so many players, like you look at Anthony Edwards, for example. You look at Ja Morant, for example. These really good Rookie of the Year players who take monster leaps in year 2. Scottie Barnes, based on what I've seen in the offseason, has the ability to take on one of those monster leaps. And the progression for Scottie Barnes, offensively, we know he is excellent at finishing at the rim. We know he is a good playmaker. He can be a great playmaker. That's something I'd like to see as well. Defensively, he improved immensely over the course of the season, staying with his checks, helping better on defense from the weak side. That was all great to see. The progression for Scottie Barnes is going to be the jump shot. Now, the jump shot is falling for Scottie Barnes, and we've seen a lot of footage of the offseason where it is falling for the player. If that is improving and we can get that 30% three-point percentage up to 33, 34, dare I even say 35%, this is going to be a scary player. The East is loaded with teams expecting to be playoff teams this season, and it is going to be super difficult to jostle for positions there. You have the Bucks, Celtics, and Sixers, I believe, at the top of the conference, and you've got 6 other teams trying to get into the 3 guaranteed spots in the playoffs and avoid the play-in tournament. The Raptors are going to feel like they're good enough to do that, but a big part of it is going to be Scottie Barnes. If he explodes onto the scene this season, this team could even get up there with the top 3 in the conference and could be, could get us a home playoff seed. If we can get a home playoff series, would really love if we can win a playoff series this season. That's what I think this team could shoot for this season, but a lot of it is going to be on the step forward that we can see from Scottie Barnes. Didn't see his best, in my opinion, in that game against the Jazz, though. He didn't really play a lot. Would love to see more of that and would love to see him shoot more and see those shots start falling. It is going to be super interesting to see what kind of Scottie Barnes we get in preseason to give us a hint what he can become in the regular season. So there you have it. Those are my 3 key players to look out for the Raptors in preseason. Juancho Hernangomez, need to see the 3-point shot fall. Dalano Banton, need to see the decision-making improve. Scottie Barnes, the jump shot, mid-range 3-pointer, all 3 levels of scoring, need to see those things get to the next level. Let's see what we can get from the Celtics tomorrow and the rest of those preseason games as we do watch parties for them right here on this channel on YouTube. Make sure to check in 30 minutes before the jump ball. You can also check those out on Twitch. Hope to see you guys there. So what do you make of the 3 players I've described as the key ones to look out for in the preseason? Is there somebody that I am missing, or do you agree with me? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, if you did enjoy, drop a like on the video. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, helping us get to the next level, getting some more eyes on this video by the YouTube recommended algorithm. And also be sure, if you're new to the channel or if you have just not done so already, that you are subscribed to Amateur Sports. We're like 60 subscribers away from 12K on this channel. Would love if we could hit that before the Boston Celtics game tomorrow night. I know we are capable of doing it. You can help out the channel, and I hope to see you at our watch party tomorrow. I'll see you again next time for another video, probably on Thursday.